Everybody, Andy here again, day 57 I do believe, out wandering about. First things first, put the numbers down below. I think yesterday there were 545 deaths, so that shows that the numbers are creeping back up again, as they tend to do in the middle of the week. And yes, that takes us over 35,000 something, but the Office of National Statistics reckons that we're at 41,000. So, but we'll find that. But what I've done today is I'm coming out for a little walk, and I wanted to talk about actually your local area. One of those things I've talked about before about rediscovering your local area, because of the way that things are. I've been locked down, not being able to go very far. Things are changing, yes, but I read an article a couple of days ago that Julie shared with me. A guy called Bill Jones, who actually does photography for National Geographic magazine, and he also leads tours to pretty nice places like Bhutan and places like this. So he travels around a lot. But Julie actually knows him. He lives in Paris. And he's written a little blog post, which I should put below. And what it's talking about, because in Paris they've had even stricter restrictions than what we've had in the UK, and he's not been allowed to travel more than 1 kilometre from his apartment in Paris. Okay, he lives in Paris. He lives fairly central to Paris, not that far from the Notre Dame Cathedral. But his whole blog post is about how he's rediscovered his local area, where he's living, because of what he's been doing, and as I said, because of where he is. You know, if you're living in the middle of Paris, you're in a lot better place than some other people. But it doesn't matter where you are, as I've said before about being around here. You can find things like where I am now, for example, walking down here. I mentioned this park the other day, Burton St Leonard's Gardens. These particular houses here by the side of the park, some of them have actually got that one has right at the top, AD 1838, for example, this one here. So you walk around your own local area, you can find so much. I've seen this. I've just walked past the post box, which is from the Victorian age, for example, and if you open your eyes, it's that whole point. If you open your eyes, and his blog post is amazing what he's discovered. He's discovered so much that he didn't know. He's lived there, I think he said, over 20 years. But you can travel locally without having to go too far, type of thing, and you can discover whole new things that you didn't know existed. And maybe this is where we're going to be going in some ways in the future, because we're not going to be able to go as far as we could before, as I've mentioned before, or we're certainly not going to be able to do it in quite the same way that we could before. So we might have to explore our own lands, our own areas a lot more than what we've done in the past. Maybe not a kilometre around our home, but that's a start, because as I said, you never know what sort of unknown treasures you might be able to find that you didn't know existed once you start opening your eyes a little bit more and walking around, cycling around, rather than driving. Because, as I said before, we tend to wander around our own areas with blinkers. Just about everywhere you go has got something of value somewhere, some sort of local history. And once you start delving into it, it becomes quite fascinating, and the more you get into it, the more you want to get into it, the more you discover. It does help if you live in what could class as a more interesting place, but I don't think that particularly matters. Everywhere has got merits of some sort or other. Hang on, this guy's walking around. One of the problems at the moment is we're so used to not having traffic around that when there is traffic around it tends to get to you a little bit, because walking around the roads, and as I've just done, walk down the middle of it's a small road, but you don't realise that traffic is starting to appear again. As I'm just about to walk over this road here, if I go over quickly, run across, and so you know, that's one of the things you have to start thinking about now, traffic, where you didn't have to think about traffic before. And this is the seafront here in Hastings. But there you go. So the whole point of that was that explore your local area, but in the future we might have to explore our own area, as in our countries. And I saw an interview with Michael Palin the other day, actually, talking about travelling better and travelling more local, because that might be where we'll be. But it's not a bad thing. Explore your own local area, but explore your own country and discover things that you might not have discovered before. Like here, this stone behind me, I don't think it's this stone, it's got a plaque on it, and the plaque says, tradition says that William the Conqueror landed at Bulverhide, which is just over there, and he dined on this stone. There you go, a piece of local history, something that if you didn't explore your local area, you wouldn't know. That's the only problem with the lockdown lifting, is that you get that sort of thing. Anyway, I shall leave it there and leave you with that thought. I'm going to wander around here. amongst all the people. It's certainly getting a lot busier here, I must say, as you can see by the traffic and that noise. But think about that, explore your local area. Maybe don't worry about not being able to have a holiday, because you might be able to know a holiday abroad. Yes, it would be lovely, and I hope to be able to do that myself. But we're also thinking about trying to explore more locally and discovering what's on your doorstep. It's not that far away, it's a lot easier to get to, doesn't cost as much generally, and you won't have all those travel restrictions. Anyway, I shall leave it there, hopefully speak to you tomorrow. So stay strong, stay safe. Goodbye.